besides when you're maxed. Because your lava are super key. It's like having warp gates. If you have lava that aren't being used, it's the exact same as having a warp gate that's not being used.
Absolutely.
That its cooldown is done. So having extra lava as a Zog, you might think, oh, look at all this lava. I can build whatever I want. It's actually not something good to have. That's why when you fast expand, you really only need one queen, and you really only need it in your main base for quite a while, because you just can't support that much lava production on two bases.
Absolutely. So you need to get that drone production up so you can be able to afford to use all of those larvae. That's, I mean, as you were saying. And one other thing to see, Child Police is going for creep spread, as is Ixie. This is, instead of Overlord placement, this kind of supplements that. It allows you also for quicker reactionary speeds. Now, in ZVZ, reactionary speed is very fast. It's very hard, especially, and creep helps out your opponent. So creep spread in ZVZ isn't as important, but in other matchups, it can work literally as scouting information. You can figure out what your opponent's doing if you have good enough creep spread. Now, it's not something to literally fret about, and if at the early levels anyway. Like if you're slipping up on drone production or on macro in general, don't worry about creep spread as much.
Yeah,
it's something
it's not that high
on
on the priority list.
Yes, it's something to look at, but it's not something you can accomplish. The same thing with creep spread for information with Overlord spread, which we see Child Police has done a good job. In ZVZ, it's always funny to me because the Overlords are always like right next to each other on the attack lanes, and you can see exactly what's going on down those lanes, and really the only thing you're blind to is what's actually in the base.
Which makes ZVZ just such a weird matchup, because you're like, oh, I know everything when you're attacking and when you're not.
Exactly. I mean, you know that. And so, like, we're going to see behind this attack, I love Child Police is expanding behind this. He's getting Overlord, so he isn't going to be supply blocked anymore. He's got some upgrades. He already is actually up ahead in upgrades at this point to his opponent. And that's going to actually help him do a phenomenal amount of damage, I think, on this attack, if I recall. In fact, he nearly kills Ixie right here.
And I think he really should have, too.
He really should have. I think if sometimes if you know you're going to be able to get a killing blow, or you're doing a lot of damage, it's okay not to build drones behind an attack, or build workers. It's always good to, but if you just want to try and kill them if you know you can, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And Unreal Blight, that's a good question. Anything in particular in replays? We're looking literally for anything, and we're trying to coach anything and everything that we can find and see how to improve it. So if you have any replays, just send them in. That's just
especially for the level that we're trying to teach.
Yes.
Like, we're teaching, like, the very basics. So basically, in every single game, we're able to pull something out of it that we can use.
This is Platinum level, which, is not the best, but we're still able to pull out a lot of very important macro details. And we just want to show that literally the same basics that will push you out of bronze into silver are the exact same ones that are going to help you. I mean, perhaps not as much. There are other aspects to deal with your play, but they're the same aspects, nevertheless, that are going to propel you out of Platinum and into Masters and so forth. So
and think of the Bronze to Masters project this way. And I'm just going to take a little bit of spiel because I think we kind of know what's going to happen in the CVZ. We know.
Look,
I think
the supply differential is
yeah.
substantial. Child Police up on 3 bases, and I think he's doing a better job on injects than Ixie, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to actually look at the energy.
Yeah, he's actually had really, really good injects for most of the game, but in the past, 3 or 4 minutes, he's actually... the past 3 or 4 minutes. The past, 3 or 4 injects, he's been a little bit late on all of them.
Yeah, his main is the only one that's a little bit late, but that's all right. And he's doing a good job. He's not going to go... If he's not going for an attack, he's still being active with his units. He's taking down destructible rocks. Snowboard using your particular comment that I look exactly like Artosis. Not exactly, but yeah.
Not exactly.
Not exactly, but he does think...
Cousin.
He does swear that I look like Artosis. No, we are not related. As far as I'm aware, maybe we are long-lost cousins or something. I don't know, but I'm not aware of our relation. It would be pretty awesome to be, and pretty baller to be related to Artosis, though. Not gonna lie. But what was your spiel? Sorry, I completely cut you off.
That's fine. The spiel is basically... When we're looking at these high-level replays, it's interesting to note how much, bronze-level material that can still be walked on. And that's really, just how in-depth this StarCraft 2 game is. What we're trying to teach you...
all the way to Grandmasters, yeah.
Yeah. What we're really trying to teach you is get the very fundamentals down. And once you get that, so you're not worried, I'm not going to miss an inject. I'm not going to miss a timing. I'm not going to get supply blocked. If you play like that, the game is going to be so much more fun. Because seriously, what are the most frustrating losses? Obviously, the ones that you thought you could have won. Like, especially for me, I'll be like, I should have won that game.
Yeah,
Because my mechanics
he's
aren't that great.
We've done build clinic stuff, and he's been for sure like, oh, I've beat him, and then you'll just let down your macro just for a second, and I'll really come back and beat him just because I'll have a little bit better production than him, just for a couple moments, and it will literally make or break the game.
Yeah.
And he got frustrated with that, I could tell. But absolutely no mechanics. They move from all the way from bronze, all the way up to masters and grandmasters, and you can never stop working on mechanics. And we'll talk about more than just mechanics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, like, here's the thing. Once you get the mechanics down, the game's so much more fun because you don't lose stupid ways. You're just like, oh, I lost because my strategy wasn't as good. That's a lot better than I lost because I forgot to build a pylon. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, and the key is have fun while you're doing this. That is the key. Like, I know we're teaching you a lot tonight, and we'll continue to do so as best as we can. But, most importantly, just have a lot of fun while you're playing. More than anything, that is my goal, is to have you guys have a good time while playing. Because
we're trying to help you be good enough so you can really, really enjoy the game for what it's worth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to see that Child Please has basically built up the almighty Roach Infester build with a couple of lings thrown in for good measure. And these fungals, I mean, I think Ixie, he's just going to leave right now-ish, because those are pretty fantastical fungals. Fantastical. Somewhere between two words, fantastic and word, I'm just not going to say on stream. Also, Unreal Blight, your question, and you're both Protoss. We are both Protoss, probably Masters level Protoss players. However,
I'm a little bit better. I'm high Masters. We have to make that distinction.
He's high Masters. He's high Masters Protoss. I'm probably low Masters material for Protoss. But also, I have a random account, so I've been doing a lot of random play where I'll play as Zerg and Terran and trying to learn all of them. Because this actually the show idea initially started up as a personal challenge for myself to become Masters in every single race. So, that's what we're going for.
So we're going to be popping into one final game. It's a shorter game. We actually previewed this game last week. We talked about it. But it's actually really good, illustrating the points of how crucial hitting your warp gate timings are.
Absolutely.
It's going to be our friend Funky Andrew, that's his name, Funky Drew.
Funky Drew.
And I just want to say how lucky we are to have his replays.
Yes.
I got confirmation, he is the Star Nation, which is a documentary that's going to be in movie theaters, hopefully within the next year or so. He is the producer of this documentary. I met him at a Barcraft. Go to your Barcrafts if you have one near you. They are amazing.
And you can
look
go
at all
to
the people you meet. So he actually sent these replays in to me, and I was like, heck yeah. I mean, you're semi-famous. You're the producer of this great show, so yeah. So we're going to go over his replays once again. So,
all right,
yeah.
3.
Shout out to him, especially because he's definitely someone in the community, a go-getter. He decided, well, let's do this this movie, do the show. I'm thinking about show, but it's a movie. It's a documentary.
I thought you were going to say something else. I was like,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Do this, yeah. All right, but we're going to get into this game now in 3, 2, 1. All right,
let's go.
Oh my, but this is a really interesting, actually, PvP matchup. We're going to see that both players, because we've seen this game several times now, we know both players go 4-gate, or at least me and Veritas know, and now you guys know, just announcing obvious. Yes. All right, Atonement, though, is our Protoss opponent, and why don't you take it away, Veritas? I pretty much talked the entire time. My voice is actually kind of tired. Why don't you talk about PvP?
Yeah, you talked in that ZVZ just because I'm not great mechanically with Zerg. I think I have some pretty good strategies for Zerg, but I'm not great mechanically. But we're going to see both these players go for that 4-gate. Funky Drew does it a little bit funky.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I know that was terrible.
That was
pretty
bad.
Well, you have to have some dry humor, I suppose.
It's true. No, we'll forgive you just this once, though. Don't let it happen again. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I got it. But anyway, so we're going to both see the 4-gate, and this is actually going to come down to... Well, we talked about last week how it came down to basically who had more probes, and a couple of just funny engagements. But it's also going to come down to who has better production and who's better at hitting that production. A lot of the 3 games we've seen previously, a lot of their production problems were because they got the wrong mix of buildings. This production problem is literally just forgetting to build units, and that's something that you cannot possibly do.
Mm-hmm. Especially, one thing I would love to emphasize in mirror matchups more than anything, production is tremendously important because they're going to have identical units. Having more of them is always better. You can deal with things a little bit differently in non-mirror matchups. So like PvZ, having fewer zealots than he has roaches, if you have sentries, is an okay place to be. But in mirror matchups, you really want to be able to at least match your opponent in unit numbers. But go ahead, Veritas, you were talking some more.
Yeah. Now we're going to see that both these players are bronze, so back in the low levels. And we both see, like, Atonement, he got those 2 gases, kind of funny, not what you're supposed to do. Go watch the build clinic. But anyway, we're not worrying about the builds. Something that actually Septile and I were considering when we were talking about this show, and we were getting ready for it, we were like, well, perhaps we could get some of the replays that they sent us, and we just, like, literally do the exact same build, and we just make sure we hit all our production and just see how much bigger of an army we have. I didn't go with that because we think that it could have had too much error in it, because...
Too much error, and we also really want to be able to focus on your replays as well, because this show does exist for your education, also in entertainment. It is kind of fun to watch other people play when they're not... it's not first person. It's a little bit frustrating, I think, when you're trying to learn a build in first person mode, speaking from experience. I love to watch professional players, but I don't go there to learn streams to watch and learn their builds. I'll go to Team Liquid for that, which, if you don't know about Team Liquid, definitely check out Team Liquid. It's like the biggest source of knowledge for this game ever.
If you want to know something, go to Team Liquid. Yes. It will be there.
Yeah.
So, getting back to the game, we see that Atonement, he is going to have the probe lead for a while. Both these players actually cut probes quite a bit in this game, which don't do that.
Well, it's part of the 4-gate. To be fair, it is part of the 4-gate build, to be fair to them.
I guess, like, seeing professional games, because I know Funky Drew, he doesn't play a lot, but he watches a ton, because he's making a movie about professional players, so he watches a ton, but he doesn't actually know the exact build, so I can see how a lot of players, when they're 4-gating, would get, like, 2 gases, or would cut probes, because, like, well, it's a rush.
Yeah.
But,
kill him!
Yeah. we'll talk about, we're going to talk, I still think we're going to have, like, a day, maybe perhaps even 2 weeks from now, where we're just going to have a anti-cheese.
Yes.
Like,
I would love to talk about the anti of cheese. It's one of my favorite things to do, is be the anti to the cheese that somebody throws at me on the ladder. It's really fun to do. Just being able to be like, yeah, your cheese means nothing. Sorry, personal pleasure, guilty pleasure of destroying cheese. But we're going to see both players going for relatively same things. The timing note for Funky Drew was perfect. Oh my gosh, his timing for getting those gates is perfect. But also notice, he is not warping in any units. He has not warped them in. He's just now literally starting to warp in his units.
He's warped in one. He has 3 more to go.
Come on, man, you got
And he'll be supply blocked, actually. That's another thing to talk about.
Yes.
You want to build for Protoss, doing with 4 gateways off 1 base, you want to build a pylon every 25 seconds.
Yep.
That's, like, almost exact, actually. Like, 25 seconds will be optimal. And 25 seconds actually is, like, a little bit too good, but if you think 25 seconds, you're probably going to hit it on 30 seconds, and that's good, too.
Now, notice, I mean, also, I'd just like to comment on this part of the engagement. As we were saying before, make sure, when I was talking on the PvT matchup we saw in Shakuras, make sure all your units are engaging in a battle, unless you're trying to just do, like, a hit and run. Then obviously you only have to hit with so many. But also notice Atonement was behind with the warp in technology, as well as behind on the timings. His timing wasn't as crisp, but he warped in on a more precise timetable, and he had a lot more units. And he's going on a massive counterattack, and this really doesn't look good for Funky Drew. Like, at this point, like, if I was Funky Drew, frankly, I'd be typing GG in myself, because I'd just be like, oh crap, I just lost my army, and like, he has everything, and I'm just gonna die. That's all.
Because Funky Drew, during that engagement, like we said, he wasn't back at his base building units. One thing that players can walk on, and this is like one way you can actually physically walk on this, is whenever you see an engagement, just run. Like